Which countries do you see are going with the shift of cloud transformation, which includes data, versus others? It must be like night and day between different countries. So what's your thoughts on that?
I would say, big adopters have been the United States, definitely India, China, parts of Europe and Latin America, with countries like Australia and New Zealand following, the US model. So I would say, by and large, I would say at least a good 60 to 70% of the world is kind of adopting to cloud technology at this point of time.
Welcome to Brew Bytes.
Thank you, Nadeem. Appreciate it.
Man, it's great to have you here, of all places, in New York City. And the fact that you've also come from Atlanta this week and we've been able to catch you in New York because you've got some incredible stories to tell on a number of different things, particularly around tech culture, I would say, and how it's affecting culture and how it's affecting the workforce and working practices and how we should be thinking very differently when it comes to tech, right? I even think that even nowadays, with the rise of AI and how that's trying to re-govern a lot of workplaces, is still to be seen, and we're still at the early stage of that curve and what that means for transformation, maturity in workplaces and stuff. And, when we had our call, when I was in Dubai and you were in Atlanta, some of the stories you were telling me was quite fascinating, and some of your experiences is phenomenal in itself. The organizations you work for and the project that you're working on just now. If you were to look at your experience in a few chapters through engineering, sales, and cloud and data, and I put what you're doing also, how would you summarize that?
I would say it's been a journey, right? Started by being an engineer and then very quickly figured out, just my love for solving problems was not good enough. If you spend time in sales and marketing, you realize that you need to have that power of persuasion also for people to adopt something, just like, change, just like culture. And from that perspective, there's a lot that I learned, throughout my career. For example, in India, I, thought that I could be resourceful, do more from less. Southeast Asia, it was all about, the pace and speed of operation because things were changing so rapidly then. With the US, it was all about, scale and precision. With the Middle East, you'll probably know it's all about relationships. So, those are some of the things that, I have learned, throughout that journey of mine.
Based on the culture of tech, our leaders find it difficult to have culture as the epicenter of what needs to be changed? Or do they see it sometimes as an afterthought?
Got it. I feel what happens is the senior leadership in the company, they follow metrics. And as you are aware, culture is an intangible.
Intangible metric, yeah.
Yeah, you cannot measure it. And hence, leaders kind of ignore it. And when leaders ignore it, the people don't follow it. And when there is no adoption by the people doing the cloud migration or an AI initiative, tech fails.
Why do you think that is the case, though? Because leaders of today are equipped to be able to deal with any situation that, is thrown at them. And what makes a good CEO or a CTO is to sort of endorse the emergent changes that take place. So why do we think that is?
I think you hit a nail on the head. I think it is a lot to do with change management, and leaders of today have to invest heavily in training and development of their workforce, and also focus on the change management aspect of undergoing any transformation, because just transformation from a tech standpoint will not cut it. You need to have your people, have that kind of level of energy, also armed with the right level of training and development to kind of make things happen.
So let's go into a bit deeper then. You mentioned about, it's quite an interesting point that you mentioned, that it's also the people itself. I had a guest on a couple of days ago, and he was very vocal, saying, leaders should all be fired, in a very New York style. It's like, okay, this is a bit bold. What you're saying is the other opposite, which I'm more inclined, I'm more with you on this one, which is they need training and development. But how do you change, a culture of your workforce to endorse and embrace, the new tech that are coming? Because it's quite scary for some, and it's quite hard to change a culture, because a culture changes at an organization level before it hits a team level. And when it gets to an organization level, you then start to live and breathe the ethos of that company's values.
Right.
And then you can change with it.
Right. I mean, I have some strong beliefs, right? I truly believe in that whole value of having curiosity, as a key ingredient, whether it is personal life or whether it is business. And I've kind of carried that, spark of curiosity right throughout. And I'll tell you why curiosity is important, because curiosity, like in the age of data and AI and cloud, things are changing at such a rapid pace. And that's where I feel curiosity matters, because if you're curious, it will kind of spark interest and you'll start adopting, whether it is getting certifications on the cloud with any of the hyperscalers out there, or building that kind of culture within the organization from a CEO standpoint or from a senior level exec standpoint of building the team. I think curiosity matters. So I look into like elements of the intangibles more than the metrics, which I like to call as presence over performance. And I feel that will make a huge difference if people start adopting.
And in this case, the metric being aura, right?
Correct.
The aura, how you measure aura. And that's quite significant, actually, because aura cascades around, it could be the environment in the room, it could be the mood of people, it could be the attitude of how you want to drive transformation. And the aura, I guess, we then have to cascade not just from a leadership standpoint, but into teams and into everyday work habits, right?
Absolutely.
Which can be quite difficult to instill, no?
It is.
Right? But when you talk about curiosity, which links to that, are people as curious than before? People are curious about technology, don't get me wrong. They're very much curious, especially with AI, even more curious about it. But what if people don't have curiosity? Because I got curiosity personally through traveling. And alhamdulillah, I was able to travel. My parents blessed me with the ability to travel and see different parts of the world, which in my community back at that time was really something that was frowned upon in some ways, and also wasn't really the thing to be doing, or the sensible thing to be doing, right? To be able just to go and travel and experience work life in different parts of the world. But by traveling, it does spark curiosity. And even this week I've been in New York, I'm even more curious of the fact that why the hell am I seeing more tech when I go to a coffee shop or go and buy an acai bowl? 2 days back, I went for breakfast and the guy was at the counter and I says, can I have? And literally before I told him what I can have, he says, can you just punch it into the screen?
Right.
What on earth is going on here? Right. So it made me more curious. But you get curiosity, I think, from broadening your mindset. So how would you encourage people to be more curious in what they are?
I would say travel more.
That's the easy way out.
That's
right?
the easy way out. I mean, if your job takes you around the globe, takes you around various places, even within, let's say the US.
The US, yeah,
I mean,
it's big enough, right?
Yeah, there's so many cultures. I think understanding culture is a very important aspect for, personal growth as well as for business growth. And for me personally, it has always been my travels. As you are aware, I started off in India, and then, worked a little bit in the Middle East and Southeast Asia before finding myself out here in the US about 25 years ago. And for me, each of those places have sparked curiosity because of the exposure I got to the various cultures.
Yeah.
And that has kind of sparked, a lot of, why I am curious today, how I have applied that to the area of cloud data and AI, where I lead teams today. I would strongly, endorse the whole aspect of travel and, from travel sparking more curiosity in everyday living.
Okay, right. This build on that for a second now. If you had to roll out, okay, and we'll come into a cloud in just shortly. Let's just say you had to roll out a new piece of cloud tech or AI in an organization, and let's just say you had 90 days to do it. Not 90 days to transform the whole thing, but 90 days to do it. What would be the 3 most important bits that should be considered to be able to help implement that successfully?
I would think, the top of my mind, what comes to me would be, be a good storyteller. Tell your organization, how they're going to change and why change matters in human terms. That would be my number one go-to. Secondly, I would, create like champions in my team. Those who will, adopt to the technology and the transformation quickly and help their peers, with the same. Be kind of influencers to their peers.
Yeah.
And thirdly, just like everybody, we want those quick, wins, right? The small, measurable, visible wins, which could actually, push us forward. So I would say those would possibly be my top 3 things I would go to in the first,
what would be
90 days or whatever.
Okay, what would be a visible win then?
A visible win would be, this any particular win. I would say culture could be a win. Training and development, could be a big win. Organizing, workforce, through workshops.
Yeah.
Identifying which are areas which will change and how it matters for the company and its employees could be a win.
And I think even in that 90-day scenario, it would be difficult because a stat that I have here, I mean, I can't read it. I can't read it on top of mind. I have to read it word for word here, okay? Stat from the World Economic Forum claims, on average, 44% of workers' core skills will change within 5 years. Most firms admit training lags demand. That's a cultural thing now, okay? And for me, this is where programs have a tendency to break a lot of work initiatives to change a culture, or if it's to drive transformation in a work practice. How do you go about fixing that?
Yeah, I would just stick to basics, right? Have people, if you're talking about cloud and data, have people, understand the basics of cloud and data, add in Python programming, maybe apply it to a project and find out what your wins would be all about, the small wins which I spoke about.
Yeah.
That would be, and just keep it simple, right? Build durable skills, I would say.
Yeah. It must be difficult though, especially in organizations where, I mean, we're quite fortunate, I think. Were you born in the 80s?
I was born in the 70s.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it makes me very old.
No, I was born in the early 80s, okay? Believe me, I feel old. But I guess we grew up with the inception of Facebook, right? That changed the game for a lot of how we communicate, even Bebo and MySpace. You speak about any of these 3 platforms to Gen Zs, they'd be thinking, why are you on Facebook? Why are you not on TikTok?
Right.
Right? Now, the reason why the reason why I say this is because in organizations today, there's, a large workforce of people who are legacy, driven in the sense of, it's quite a difficult mindset to shift for transformation. You mentioned Python, or you mentioned training them on certain programs. Why? How can? Is it a case you should replace them if they're not able to endorse the change? Or is it a case that you have to persevere with it and drive that culture change for them to see the beneficial use of being upskilled?
I would go with the latter, right?
Really, yeah?
I would persevere with, building that culture. And it's not a very difficult thing to do. It's just, some behavioral aspects need to change, right?
I mean, it's a fair and case in point, because if I remember when cloud storage came about, I had to get my head around it. I won't lie. Thinking, what is this? I don't have a tangible disk anymore. I don't have something that is here. I have to have it up there somewhere. Like, where is this? Like, and even for my mom and my dad, it's very difficult to think that, okay, I don't have my pictures on my hard drive anymore, photographs, it's gone somewhere else now. But I just want to know that I have, a copy of it here, But there's nothing like having a copy of it, It's the biggest thing we take, for granted.
Right.
When you get a postcard, or when you get that photograph that's been printed that's on your refrigerator, you're like, wow, it feels so special, right? But to be able to change a culture where something becomes more intangible is quite a difficult thing to manifest.
Yeah.
Would you say, have you seen that in your own experience?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it right throughout my career, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I've seen leaders who have, kind of failed trying to build that through, various initiatives that they would have started off. Like, for example, one of the system integrator companies that I used to work with rolled out a CRM system, Salesforce.
Okay.
It was new after, we had a custom sales automation tool all, our lives.
Yep.
And suddenly, the sales team, including myself, was forced to adhere to Salesforce. And as you know, the sales guys don't like to populate stuff.
They don't.
They hate it.
I used to hate it.
I used to hate it too.
What's my 6-month pipeline? What? I don't know. I just wanted to do it on a Excel sheet. It's fine, right?
Right. But it was not until, leadership actually spent their time, money, and energy on building training and development programs, back with the leadership buy-ins for all of that, that technology got adopted, right? People started using it, and then they started seeing value from that. So, I mean, I have like so many examples like this throughout my career, which suggests that, it is possible through those behavioral changes.
Yeah, it definitely is possible. It's also quite difficult in some ways. I don't like, you've got some great experience. Spend a bit about like leadership in some respects in tech. I love what you said earlier, which was the fact that at the beginning that it wasn't just tech. Sports was something that has also shaped you how you are. When we think of, I'm going to say football, because I'm from the UK, in the sense of when football is a sport that is globalized, just like the NBA and the NFL now, and technology has become like a global business in a lot of things of what we touch and see today. Having worked in all these different markets, from Southeast Asia to the US, how has that given you a global perspective to shape how you're leading and teaching technology today, Arnold?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say, in a way, soccer or football has global appeal. As a kid, I used to find myself, when I used to visit my dad in Kuwait, I used to play on the field. I didn't know Arabic as a language, but the rhythm of soccer actually helped me to play with those kids out there. The same thing I find at the workplace, right across the globe, right? It's important to understand the rhythm of the people that you work with. And understanding the rhythm means knowing the culture, spending time, getting exposed, and building your curiosity for those cultures and trying to understand what makes them tick, what brings them joy, those kinds of aspects. So I've kind of used those into my everyday life as well as on my work life, where I have to work with teams. So with soccer, if you look at it, you need to build trust, to win games.
Of course.
Because you win, trust of your, colleagues on the field, and, you can pass the ball well, assist, and score a goal. Same thing in a cloud transformation or an AI transformation project. You need to build trust. And that trust could be built, by understanding cultures, having curiosity, about everything about the people that you work with, and going towards that one goal or one cause that you would have.
Look, I mean, cloud, when we think about cloud goes back to when search lost, even before search, right? Cloud has always been there in some shape or form.
Right.
Would you agree? So what's actually new now when we think of cloud technology?
Actually, you're right. I mean, there's nothing big about cloud, right? We used to talk about, integration back in the 90s. We always had like service-oriented architecture, distributed computing. But today, what's different than what it was in the 90s or early 2000s, I would say would be speed, and scale, and intelligence to an extent. Speed because, you're now dealing with billions of users, petabytes of data, spinning up, compute in matter of seconds. And then with intelligence, you have like the AI systems. So they become, better. You're talking about, various aspects, right? So I would say, it's the intelligence and the scale which has, changed the landscape.
And you find, because AI is a funny one, like, you find that AI is changing the use of cloud overnight, or is it like over time you've seen small changes in cloud?
I've seen small changes in cloud, and cloud has stopped being like a plumber of sorts. So when back in the days, you remember we wanted to stitch applications, and we used to move systems from one to another. But these days, cloud is more of an innovation platform. So for me, that has happened gradually, but the concepts have changed. But in theory, I think everyone was heading towards the same direction.
What type of concepts?
The concepts of, having innovation built in, concepts of having, scale and intelligence built in, through AI.
I mean, now you can use AI to surface data in just like a millisecond now, right? And you can also ask AI to help understand that data, help model that data, and so forth and so forth. How do you see this? Where do you see this going at some point? Like, what is the future of cloud, what we see today? So go back to the 90s, cloud was around, hard drives was around. Today, you can still buy hard drive, you can still buy something on the cloud. Some countries still want to operate on a on-premises basis as opposed to on cloud. So in Saudi, there's elements where, depending on the category, it's driven by on-premises solutions only and not so much cloud. Arguably, could you say that, is that transformative or not transformative if you don't endorse cloud?
No, I definitely endorse cloud, because cloud today for us is a default innovation platform. Not having cloud is a no-go, right?
Really, yeah?
And I understand some aspects of companies, especially in regulated industries,
like
where,
finance.
Yeah, data is very key, some healthcare, some aspects of that data, is not moved to the cloud. I understand those areas, but otherwise, I would say cloud is a default, because once you have the data on cloud, you can then, create analytics, try to, build use cases for that particular industry vertical, whether they are retailers or, consumer goods or financial services companies. I think they can do a lot with that data, in how they approach the market, how they go to the market faster, what kind of products they build for their customers, and kind of what kind of revenue they can potentially generate.
Yeah. Okay. Fair point. But with cloud, I sometimes get irritated with cloud. You know why? Because sometimes I have access speed in the cloud, depending on your internet speed, wherever you might be in the world, can be the most frustrating experience ever. Versus when you have something that's on your device, you can just get in a heartbeat, or something that's on premises. You know, like what elements of data should belong in the cloud and what should belong, on a device?
Right. I would say anything which would have implications to speed and
Yeah.
security, you push towards the device, like something like a biometric authorization
Okay.
and
Push it to the device.
to the device. And everything else, from, high compute workloads,
Mhm.
Scalable workloads, you push it to the cloud.
Yeah.
That's what.
Interesting. In I don't know how familiar with Dubai in the sense of, you mentioned biometrics, and I'll just touch base on that for just a moment, because everything is linked to an ID,
Mhm.
which is, whether you're for it or not for it, but it's linked to an ID, which I personally like, the fact that it's all linked there. What I love is the authentication process that they have there. So if I need to validate something with the bank, or even my mobile phone operator, right through to signing a tenancy agreement, you have to go through this whole biometric approval. And that's actually, that's done using your device,
Mhm.
but it's also using cloud technology
Right.
to send you an authentication code that you have to validate, and then it scans your face, and then within like a millisecond, everything has been approved.
Right.
That for me is like transformative.
Right.
Do you see, which countries do you see are going with the shift of cloud transformation, which includes data, versus others? It must be like, it must be like night and day between different countries. Like, what's your thoughts on that?
I would say, big adopters have been the United States, definitely India, China, parts of Europe, and Latin America, with countries like Australia and New Zealand following, the US model. So I would say, by and large, I would say at least a good 60 to 70% of the world is kind of adopting to cloud technology at this point of time.
Is it? Wow. Okay. But with then you can go on the other side, which is about security, and sometimes we need that reality check. But unfortunately, there's been so many data breaches, the reality check is no longer there, right?
Yeah.
And with, I guess that's another cause of concern why maybe some industries are saying we don't want to have cloud-based solutions, we want to have on-premises based solutions. From a consumer perspective, it's about how many times will my data be breached now? It's coming to that point where are organizations being held accountable for such data breaches, in the sense of they start paying the consumer, of where their data has been breached, because at the end of the day, it's their data, right? It's their personal identifiable information.
Right.
What's the I'm thinking of the right word to use, though. What's the one control that teams are missing when it comes to preserving security with your data in the cloud?
I would say it has to be identity.
Okay.
So where I've seen, like, I've worked with Amazon Web Services, and these days I work with a Google partner. I find enterprises that have weak IAM policies, or identity access management policies, that's where the maximum data breaches happen. I would also throw in multi-factor authentication and least privilege,
The MFA, yeah.
to be areas which should be non-negotiable by enterprises, and that's where they can actually stop a lot of these bad actors.
Yeah. And that's the unfortunate thing, because it just has this big perception now where, you're almost agreeing with accepting the fact that your data is going to be breached at some point. And what happens? I know someone, true story, through where I was working, and what had happened was that person's mobile phone had got stolen in London.
Wow.
Okay. And by the time the police had come to the time the person went back home, the person's bank account had been rinsed out.
Wow.
And after the police investigation, they had came to the point of realizing that apparently when the Face ID unlocks your phone, it is hitting, like, between your mobile phone device and the masthead of the mobile operator, there's another ping that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And if you intersect in that pin, you can then have access of the mobile device and you can surpass a lot of the securities that's on that device.
Right.
I thought it was like a WTF moment in my head. And you're only talking about maybe 3 hours, and within 3 hours, it was about like £80,000 being taken from 3 different bank accounts. I won't name the banks for obvious reasons, but it had been taken from some of the banks that are soaring around globally to the new fintech banks. And the good thing in the UK is that you're protected by, the Financial Conduct Authority that helps protect consumers who are victim of this for the right reasons, that you've got the right security stuff all enabled and things like that. But to think this is all happening in the cloud now, and security has been breached, and there are clearly smart, criminal organizations out there that are able to intersect that. Could this just get worse and worse over time? Do you think?
I would say, as technology is rapidly changing, the bad actors are also
Evolving.
Yeah. They are one step ahead, right?
You need to hire them.
So, so like the best hackers in the world are like brilliant minds, right? So yeah, I mean, as enterprises or companies, we should definitely, be one step ahead of these bad actors and see how we could, kind of create those, data breaches from not happening.
Yes. I mean, that was a bit tech heavy there. I want to go into a bit more about your deep thinking.
Sure.
And, travel's been quite a common theme in elements of your experience personally, in cloud, and now towards how you are very much a deep thinker. And, we spoke about sports and we spoke about curiosity. How has this changed in terms of how you are sort of leading teams or writing stories?
Yeah, I think, like I mentioned earlier, it's all about, how to understand various cultures, when it comes to leading cloud transformation projects.
Yep.
Big focus on building cultures, big focus on, training and development, understanding the workforce, understanding their cultures, what makes them tick, and kind of creating a plan, towards that particular goal, whether it's a cloud or a AI initiative. I would say that would be how, I have gone about, my ways of leading organizations in that journey.
And then how's that helped you sort of writing your stories?
So from a story writing perspective, these are like when I travel, like I mentioned, I meet like Uber drivers. I meet, the passenger next to me.
Are you one of those guys that talk a lot to the Uber driver now, yeah? I try to switch off from them because they're asking me questions, and I'm always worried in case a question might be something that's just so awkward to answer.
Right. It's always...
But it's all part of it.
Correct. It's always been like connection for me. Connection to people, connection to purpose, connection to possibilities. So I tend to use all of that into my writing as well.
Yeah.
And it's done in a storytelling form so that it's more palatable to people. And people get the gist of it. And what I'm also trying to do is all the reflections that I've had on scribbled notes and journals, like I mentioned, I'm trying to see how I can, kind of crystallize those lessons, if you may, into these books, which will kind of help the next generation.
Is AI helping you throughout this?
AI is definitely helping me, I would say, because, with AI, you can do a lot of co-collaboration in terms of the structure. The stories, obviously, AI will not help you in spitting out stories, for your chapters, but, it definitely can be used for research on a particular subject. Uh, my subjects vary from curiosity to metamorphosis to,
I love that
reinvention to rediscovery. So AI definitely helps in a lot of research, I would say.
And has it helped you by writing? Because it's interesting, come from a tech world, and you write philosophical about certain situations. But is there a specific theme or any particular theme that keeps cropping up that you're thinking, I'm actually taken back by that?
Yeah, I would say constant recurring themes have been about, accessibility. It has been about connections. Because, for having growth, whether it's in business or in personal life, you need to, have connections to people and connections to possibilities, like I mentioned. The other recurring theme is self-discovery or rediscovery of self, the way you want to, categorize that. A lot of times in life, as in business, we go through failures. It's not always about success and, everything is hunky-dory all the time. How do you, manage setbacks? How do you cope with them? Those are things I like to dabble with. Those are things I have reflected with in my life, and I'm bringing that now to the next generation through these stories.
I had a very good friend of mine on the show a couple of days ago in New York, Charles, and we were talking about connections and creativity. But on the connection front, what he did mention was the fact that connection is super important when it comes to technology. To be able to retain elements of connection as humans is just as important than the tech taking over the connection itself.
Absolutely.
And it's not surprising that you're saying the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's becoming a common thing now. The more people I speak to is how connections is just becoming the key ingredient that is surfacing itself up to say that actually we now need to sort of have elements of connections within technology.
Right.
Not that the technology take over us, but for us to at least retain elements of control over technology to keep that connection between me and you, for example.
Correct.
Or between me and the problem I need to solve or the issue I'm facing. The minute technology comes into that domain that overtakes it, say AI nowadays,
Mm-hmm.
then it becomes very, very, quite critical, because in generations to come, we might very well be, I don't know if you watched the movie Demolition Man with Wesley Snipes. It's a very old movie, but that reminds me of how technology sort of takes over how we behave as humans and how we interact as humans and like all these things.
Right. I strongly believe no matter, how strong or how great AI would be, I think finally that human AI touch is very important. Like it should have a human-centered approach to anything we do. There will always be a human in the loop, as I call it. So yeah, I would, but good collaboration between, humans and AI is the future for sure.
And interestingly, you mentioned about, because I myself are quite philosophical within myself, to rediscover myself and sort of reevaluate myself from time to time, hit the reset button, sometimes do some humming as well in that moment as well, right? Okay. Where I can. Sometimes kids don't let you do it, but when you have that moment, it's so nice to do. I want to know more about what you mean by rediscovering and how you reinvent yourself. Because I think it's so important, especially at a day and age where things are forever evolving. And it's not something that is just relevant for perhaps people who are about to graduate. It's also relevant for leadership who need to maybe re-identify what their purpose is as an organization, or how they need to sort of maybe, change the course of direction and transform themselves or the organization. Can you just maybe just share some insight of what you mean by rediscovery and reinvention?
Yeah, I'll try to build it up in a couple of layers,
Yeah,
if you
sure.
may. Like, first is, hitting that pause button at times. So, specifically, if you have gone through, let's say, grief or loss or setbacks in your life, I think it is very important for individuals to, press that pause button. Whether there are, how the tech sector is these days, there are so many layoffs. What do people do? I mean, people just scramble, right? They're like frazzled.
Yep.
But they don't hit the pause button. They don't reflect. I would strongly suggest folks to kind of reflect on, their journey and where they would like to go, and maybe use that pause not as a symbol of failure, but as an advent of something new that's going to happen, and something bigger and better that is going to happen in their life. Look at it from that perspective.
I said G there. I'm speaking Urdu there with you. Sorry. But in a tech culture environment, though, it's so fast paced. And how do you pause?
Just
it's so hard,
regenerate,
right?
Go take leave. Take a 5-day leave. Fly to Hawaii. Rejuvenate yourself.
Asha's going to do that. He's going to fly to Hawaii now. This is it now. Yeah. But seriously, yeah?
Yeah. I do that all the time. I take pauses. I rejuvenate myself. I reflect. I love walking 5Ks, in wooded areas. It helps me reflect.
Sure.
I write, as you are aware. That's the mirror of my soul. So, I use these small practices to kind of, get away from the madness, the rush.
You need
of
that
everyday
sometimes,
life.
especially because, to be honest with you, your work practice, your family practice, and in between that, how you commute from work to home, especially like a city here, where it's just like
crazy.
London, it's just crazy. It's just on the go, on the go, on the go. Nobody wants to say hi. Everyone is just going back home or coming back to work. That is it, right? London's exactly the same. Don't get me wrong. But it's very hard to hit that pause button. And what I mean by pause button also is just to take time out for yourself to self-reflect. By the time you do a 40-minute commute back home, you're so like bunged out, and the last thing on some people's mind is, how do I meditate, or how do I reflect? How do I go last thing I want to do is go for a walk because it's raining. Where I come from in Scotland, it's always windy, it's always stormy. In Dubai, the humidity is hot. I can't get out. So I'm stuck in the house all the time. Okay, I'm over exaggerating in some cases, right? But to hit the pause button is so important for your inner self. But then, okay, say you pause yourself. How do you reinvent yourself?
So, I mean, you ask yourself, what is truly important to you? Is this the time to play to the galleries, if I may use soccer terminology?
Okay.
Or is it a time for you to, do the right assist with your team members so that you can score that goal?
Because some people might not have the opportunity to maybe change careers, for example, right?
Right.
So you mean reinventing in your own...
In your own field. So
okay.
if I have to use soccer terminology, if you were the Ronaldo of that team, you don't have to keep scoring goals all the time.
No, true.
You could now take a seat of being like a mentor or a coach and build your legacy and help the next generation in kind of meeting those goals.
Fair.
Coming back to, technology and the whole cloud data and AI world, it's pretty much the same thing. You don't have to be like the best sales guy, hitting your numbers all the time. It is also being a mentor coach to your team members in the same company and kind of, building that.
Yeah, so true, actually. We've got a lot of listeners and viewers who are, I like to think of them as future entrepreneurs. I've done a lot of talks at several universities, and the one thing I always get asked is, oh my God, I'm going to the real world in 6 months or in a year's time. I don't know what to expect. Or more recently, which was a little bit heartbreaking to hear, I've just studied for 4 years and I'm now going into an industry where it did not highlight the significance of AI, and AI is only gathered momentum in the last 6 to 9 months back then. I don't know what to do. I think my job is no longer available. And in some ways, unfortunately, AI has replaced some jobs, but it's opened up new skill sets. And it's only going to continue like this, right? Whether you work in HR or whether you work in legal or accountancy, elements of AI is going to take a lot of the responsibilities that was there. But let's just say, there's a 22-year-old right now that is wondering now, what does the future mean for me? Okay, whether they're coming into AI or into cloud. If you had to give them some guidance on which 3 books that they should be thinking about, like these are the 3 books that are going to help me, one, either understand or reinvent myself, or maybe, look at things in a very different way, Arnold. What, you have 3 books in mind that you think that would impart that wisdom?
Yeah, I think I have a few books.
Yeah, few. Yeah.
I think one...
Not Harry Potter.
Not Harry Potter for
Okay.
sure.
No.
Not Harry Potter. I mean, of course, you can read Harry Potter. It's amazing. It'll
right?
give you a power of imagination out there. But I would say Erin Meyer's book on cultural maps, will talk about cultural intelligence, at a global scale within global teams. Another book that comes to my mind is AI Superpower by Kai-Fu Lee, who talks about, grounding in global impact. And he talks specifically around China and US and that role of AI. It's a pretty fascinating book. The third one would be on a subject we touched a little bit earlier, which was, I'm not getting the name now, but it's all about, building, mastery, on skill. And that helps in, career resilience.
Nice.
So those are some books, and the book which has been always a North Star for me has been The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, which talks about somebody having a dream and going on that journey and allowing the universe to conspire to help them.
Okay.
I think that's a pretty powerful book, but it's nothing to do with cloud data and AI or tech, but it's as important to have dreams, whether there are tech dreams or dreams outside of tech, to trust the path and to go on that journey. I think that's a powerful book somebody could definitely learn from.
No, true. Nice.
Yeah, I got the name of that book. It was So Good That They Cannot Ignore You.
Oh, wow.
It's by Cal Newport. Yeah, he talks about, building mastery.
Oh, nice.
And improving career resilience.
Nice. Look, we've spoke a lot about some very tech-heavy stuff, and also we spoke about a lot of philosophical things. I want to have a little bit of fun with you now. Okay? I've got 2 cards here.
Oh, no.
Yes? Yes. I don't think I told you about this, right? Beneath each card, there'll be a trigger for a question.
Okay.
Whether the question might be under one of the cards, or it may not be.
Okay.
And then I've got a question that has been generated by AI with my influence. Okay. So let me pop these here.
Okay.
I'll let you choose one of these.
Which one should I go for?
Oh, I don't know. Arnold, this is your...
It says ChatGPT.
Oh, okay. No way. Okay, right. Let's breathe a bit now. So, I'll read this now. If your life's cloud forgot 90% of your data for 1 week,
okay,
what instincts would you trust to run your work and your life? Let's look at it from a personal perspective.
Goodness me.
Yeah.
I would say if, I lost all my data or 90% of the data, probably rely on my basic instinct, which is listening first and connecting with people.
Yeah.
Because if I can connect with people, I think it has always guided me, be it my personal life or my career. So I would say those 2 key skills would be the skills if I have no data left.
Wow. Okay. For me, I think it would be, I think I would struggle because we're so dependent on it now. It's become part of our DNA as humans that we need it. So I would dare to think how we would all go about our day-to-day life without having some form of cloud touch point now. Photographs, content, and all that. What does it mean now? Navigation.
Right.
I used to be a great navigator until my best friend introduced me to Google Maps.
I'll tell you a funny story. Back in the days when there was no navigation, no GPS systems, you know, what we have in our cars these days, I took a road trip because I've been in sales all throughout my life, right? And it was a snowy night, upstate New York, right? I'm trying to find like my customer place, and then I get lost because it's so dark. And back in the days, we had these big books or charts of maps, which was the Rand McNally, I believe, were those maps, which I used to read and go. And if we got lost, I used to head to a gas station and ask them and connect with people.
Yeah, of course.
So that's why I rely on that connection.
Yeah.
Listening first and connection, because, you know, even if data is not available, I can rely on people because I connect well with them. And with connection comes a lot of possibilities.
Nice. Arnold, thank you so much for sharing your stories about from Mumbai through to your own personal experiences when it comes to, I'm still taken back by the whole soccer and, you know, your Pac-Man and your Donkey Kong situations that you had that I didn't have, you know, right through to your cloud projects and, you know, what you're writing on in terms of that super philosophical. And I think it really pushes people to sort of pause and reflect on a lot of things. And having that idea to be able to reinvent yourself and reflect on yourself is something that I don't think many of us have really took the time to sit for even 5 minutes in a day to think, okay, how do I reinvent myself? How do I optimize myself, for that matter? And yeah, thank you so much for sharing that with us. I think it would be great when your books launch that we dig deep into your books, because your books is what is reminded me personally of how we sometimes need to code ourselves or decode ourselves in some ways. So very much would like to welcome you back when those book launches. When are the books launching, by the way?
I think the first book might be launching in the middle of January next year.
Oh,
so
nice.
Yeah, pretty soon.
Nice. Well, guys, that's all for us today, but I'm sure you would have took something from what Arnold had to say. I have, personally, as I had mentioned, it's all about reinventing and rediscovering, and also, you know, where cloud is really changing how we are sort of living our day-to-day lives and what it means from a culture perspective, how tech is affecting the culture. And if you've taken anything from it, from how tech may be affecting your culture and your organization, or even if it's now triggered a moment where you want to self-discover or reinvent yourself, then feel free to share, like as a thumbs up, or comment about this episode. And until then, until next time, bye.